Welcome back to Cassidys Craveable Creations. Today we're making a keto angel food cake that's fluffy with the lightest air texture that's sure to impress and is a perfect summertime dessert. This keto angel food cake recipe is really easy to make. However, it does require a certain technique, and so just be sure to follow all the instructions closely. And so to get started, the very first thing that we need to do is we want to line our tube pan with parchment paper because we do not want it to stick. And I use a 2-piece tube pan where the center comes out. I don't like to use a bundt pan because the angel food cake tends to stick in a bundt pan. So I always recommend a 2-piece tube pan. Oh, it's kind of hard to say. And so to line the bottom, I just put some parchment paper on the countertop and I take a marker and I draw around it, and then I'm going to cut it out. Once you have your parchment circle cut out, to cut a hole in the middle, I just fold it in half and I take my scissors and I make a half circle in it. And then you can just put it down on top of the bottom part of the tube pan. And so that's lined, and we'll just set this aside while we get started on the batter. Now that the pan is prepared, we're gonna mix together the dry ingredients. And for the flours, we are using coconut flour. I will have the link to the full recipe in the recipe card below. And in the recipe card, I will have my preferred coconut flour brands because some brands aren't quite as absorbent as others. And then we're gonna use a little bit of arrowroot or tapioca starch. And this isn't typically considered keto, but we really need the starch in here to achieve that lightest air texture. And we're using so little that once distributed throughout the cake, the carb count is still low enough to be incorporated into a keto diet. And just a little bit of sea salt. We'll whisk this together and we'll set this aside also. So angel food cakes, they get their light, fluffy texture and rise from egg whites. And so we're gonna use 12 egg whites in this recipe, and be sure not to get any egg yolk in it because otherwise they might not beat properly. And if you do get an egg yolk or a shell in there, you can use the egg shell to scoop it out, or even a spoon. If you use your finger or something, it'll just run away from you, but a shell or a spoon will work well to get it out. So now I'm just going to separate these 12 eggs, and then we'll meet you back here to beat them. Now that the egg whites are separated, we're going to add a little bit of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is optional, but I really recommend it because it helps stabilize the egg whites and helps them to come to soft peaks faster. And so I'm going to blend this up. I'm going to use a blender and mix it on low speed till it's nice and fluffy, and then I'm going to turn the speed up to medium and I'm going to blend it until they come to soft peaks. So soft peaks, I prefer them over hard peaks because the soft peaks, they won't deflate as much in the oven. There's less a chance of the cake falling. And soft peaks, it just means that if you lift the spatula or spoon or whatever out of the egg whites, it kind of stands up, but then it falls over on itself. And also, I'm going to be mixing in some keto powdered sweetener. And most people, they just mix in a little bit and then with the egg whites, and they put the rest in with the dry ingredients. But I found that keto sweeteners are kind of heavy. And if you separate them, they can sink to the bottom and kind of form a gel, and we do not want that. That's gross. And so I add all of the powdered sweetener with the egg whites. And I like to use a powdered monk fruit allulose blend because I think it has the best taste and texture, but you can really use any keto powdered sweetener that you prefer. Okay, so these were beaten into soft peaks. It looks gorgeous. I'm just gonna put in a tablespoon of pure vanilla for some really nice taste. And I'm not gonna beat this very much, just enough for it to get distributed throughout the egg whites. Now it's time to add the dry ingredients. And for the dry ingredients that we mixed together earlier, if you just dump them all in, that's what's going to make a flat and dense cake. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put in 1/3 of this at a time, and we're going to fold it in with a rubber spatula, and we're not going to overmix it because overmixing will also cause it to fall. And we're also going to use a sifter because we don't want any chunks of flour in there. You don't want to bite into a chunk of flour, and sifting it will also help ensure that the cake is really light and fluffy. Now the flour's incorporated, we're going to pour this into our prepared pan. And if you notice, we didn't grease the pan. You don't grease the pan when you make angel food cakes because you want the cake to like climb up the sides to be as tall as they can, and if there's oil on the sides, it'll kind of make them fall. So we're just going to really gently put this in the tube pan. If you want to, you can just really gently even it out. Just be careful to resist the urge to stir it. You can just kind of really gently level it, and then you can shake it just a little bit to make it nice and even. And we're going to bake this at a low temperature. We're going to bake it at 325 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes, or until the top is a golden brown and a toothpick inserted comes out clean. After this came out of the oven, I turned it upside down for it to cool completely. My tube pan, it has like little legs on it so air can circulate underneath, but if yours doesn't have legs, you can just turn it over on a wire rack until it's completely cooled, and then you can just take a thin knife, go around the edges to release it from the pan. And now I am just really excited to try this. It looks just so soft. Okay, I'm gonna cut a bite here. Oh yeah, it's really soft and spongy. Oh wow, can you see that texture? Looks so delicious, and the outside is so golden brown. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of whipped cream on the top because of course you can't have angel food cake without whipped cream. Yum. And some berries. I'm going to put a blueberry right there on the top to be pretty. Okay, I have some blueberries. I have some raspberries, and of course, strawberries. Oops. So nothing goes better with angel food cake than strawberries. I love strawberries. Now, time for the final test, the taste test. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to try this. So good. It's so soft and airy. The texture is just spot on perfect. And to see more recipes like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell below to be alerted each time we post a new video.